Some facts about women in the workforce. Women make up 46% of the total U.S. labor force. Women are also expected to work versus stay at home like in previous decades. Growing women's presence in the workforce. 20% of women worked in 1900, while that number has changed to 75% now. And for every dollar a man earns, a woman earns 79 cents of it. Obviously, there's a deficit for women in the workforce compared to men in today's society. In 2014, women earned just 79% of the pay that men receive. And this number has narrowed since the 70s, and progress has halted recently. Higher education for women has not solved the pay gap at all. In some cases, it makes the gap larger. Women owe more in education debt also, because in 2012, women owed $4,000 more on average in the U.S. This causes a lot of problems for women because when they owe a lot more in education debt, it's harder for them to get out of that debt just because of the pay gap between men and women. More facts. Women have to work harder or even longer for them to receive a higher position in the same job. 3+ years longer to become a principal at a school than compared to a man. 4 in 10 businesses worldwide have no women in their senior management positions. Women earned less than men in 99% of all jobs. Women of a minority fare way worse. For example, black women earn only 64 cents for every dollar a man earns. Hispanic women also only earn 52 cents for every dollar a man earns. Maternity leave problems are often part of pregnancy discrimination. Discrimination in relation to childbirth. Denial of time off or failure to provide physical accommodations are also a problem in the workforce. In the past, women have been fired for pregnancy-related situations. Since Title VII of Civil Rights Act of 1964 prevents this, but it's still not solving all of the problems. For example, harassment is a big problem in the workplace for women. 37% of women reported in the US, and that doesn't include non-reporters. Most women do not report sexual harassment. In Russia, 1/4 of women anonymously report harassment, 7% officially report. Sexual harassment, physical harassment, emotional harassment. Emotional harassment gets less attention and perpetuates the problem. Stereotypical women in the workforce. Women's work. This is a stereotype that pertains to women, and it describes jobs that society thinks that women should mostly pertain to. For example, childcare, cooking, cleaning, and nursing. Also, women have a perceived weakness and fragility in the workforce, and this is biologically, socially, and emotionally. A strong, confident woman can and often is judged as selfish or domineering. This trait is applauded in men, but more shot down in women. This dichotomy is a real problem. Physical appearance is more relevant in the workplace for women over men. The beauty standards are higher for women, and judgment is more harsh.
Women in the workplace are often faced with negative stereotypes. If a woman is successful in the workplace or has a higher position than many others, she's often seen as a bitch instead of a boss. And if she's not in a successful position, she's not taken seriously.
Women are expected to quit their jobs post-childbirth. Despite Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of '64, there is an expectation that looms. Most women quit because of primary care for child. Heard of paternity leave? A double standard exists. More stereotypes. Female leaders must act like men. Stereotypical female behavior, being emotional, passive, etc., not sought after in certain workplaces. Strong women are perceived to have more masculine qualities. For example, Rosie the Riveter. In the picture shown, she is shown to have very masculine qualities, with her hair held up and her arms being shown that they can do it. Women are perceived to only work in clean jobs, such as secretaries, teachers, and librarians. This stereotype is often seen in movies and popular media across the world. Women also cannot work in an area that involves hands-on experience, such as plumbers, carpenters, and medics. This is also perceived in movies and popular culture around the world. The importance of destroying these stereotypes. 1. It allows women more equal opportunities for jobs. 2. The gender pay gap could potentially drop. This would be very important for women, and it could strive for equality in the workforce. 3. It allows specific gender roles to lose credibility. 4. Expectations of physical appearance for women would change in a positive way. And 5. It would allow for characteristics that a female boss has to be sought after. This last one is extremely important because female leaders are perceived as weaker, and some of their qualities should be seen as important in the workforce. Solutions to the problems. The solution that we came up with was a children's book named Todd and Mary Go to Work. And in this book, it tackles problems in the workplace such as gender equality, gender stereotypes, and wrongful judgments of women. The cover is shown to the right. In this book, the narrator details the workday of individuals, Todd and Mary, and it contains imagery of equal expectations for men and women when doing the same tasks, women's physical appearances not being a vital factor in their work efficiency. Going off of that, in the book, when Mary goes to work, she is seen just as Todd is, and the way she looks isn't perceived as very important, which is the same for Todd. This book shows both Todd and Mary working as doctors. This breaks stereotypes, shows that they can do hands-on jobs, and that women are not just doing women's work, which is very important because that is a stereotype that is holding women back in the workplace. In one section, the book has a pop-up page where the reader gives money to both Todd and Mary, with the amount being the same for each of them. This addresses the wage gap that holds women back. This is really important because with the equal pay, it can show that women deserve the same pay for doing the same job even though they're not being respected and being held in higher positions such as men. Finally, Mary returns home after work to find her child soundly asleep in the arms of her significant other. This breaks the stereotype that women are expected to quit their job after childbirth. It also touches on the subject of paternity leave. And finally, breaks the stereotype that women are not always the primary caregiver. This is important for men and women because it shows that men can be primary caregivers and that they can be the ones to take charge at home while a woman can take charge in the workplace. The story closes with the family happily going to bed. This leads readers to believe this is perfectly normal. This is extremely important because this breaks all of the stereotypes that I spoke about earlier, and it also solidifies a lot of the messages the book conveys.